this video, we're gonna see several time jumps that seem to maybe go back and forth just so you could see the project coherently. But
I think
really,
it was spread out over
we
like
had
multiple days.
Multiple months.
Was this one
Yeah, because we had that wood splitting problem. And we made the couch out of it first, right?
The bed's the one that split really bad.
We had like half of the cabinets done. We didn't have any of the doors done yet, but all the side pieces that you're gonna see and the bottom part, all of those were done by the time the wood had started splitting. The glue just wasn't holding it together.
It started to come apart.
We had to redo these cabinets at least twice.
At least.
The curves of the roof, because we didn't do 90-degree angles, were all really complicated and recut. So it was good that we could just trace and redo. So it wasn't that bad. Yeah. Gotta get my phone. So this is how we attached basically all of the wood to the aluminum.
Yeah.
With these. They're specifically for aluminum extrusion. And I think they're called I-bolts, T-bolts?
Oh, T-nuts.
T-nuts. They're called T-nuts.
Yeah, the nuts that insert into the aluminum, and then when you start tightening, they turn the opposite direction and clamp up against the aluminum.
Right, and they're all tightened with Allens. So we could take almost everything in here apart with just an Allen wrench.
Yeah, if I had to do it again, I would definitely use stainless steel bolts right off the bat. And then the other thing besides that is, if I was doing it again, I wouldn't use the T-nuts that are really cheap. I would just fork out the money for the slotted nuts that fit into the extrusion, and then they have a spring that kind of locks them in place.
Yeah, because we used those on the deck.
And it was amazing.
They were awesome.
Yeah, they don't move. They sit directly in place. If you look at, say, the dresser, if I ever have to take those out, then the T-nuts are just going to fall. So I have to put the T-nuts attached to it, have them all lined up when I push it into place, instead of the actual nuts just sitting in place and never moving if I take it off.
And we had to do that a lot.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Because we had to do it so much, I think we got pretty good at it. So we used soft close hinges for all of these, but it was really not necessary.
There's no soft closing to any of them.
They do. I really do think that they help keep the doors closed sometimes.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
True.
They help hold them up, but as far as like soft closing ability, not really.
No, the struts is what actually helps with that. None of the other.
Yeah.
But there's certain kind of hinges, they required a 3/4 inch piece of wood.
That's true.
The depth.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was just it's a ridiculous amount of extra weight.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
So we glued those holes because we were extra paranoid about the wood splitting again.
Yes, this was the new cabinet grade wood, but
we were cutting a hole so deep into it though that we were just anticipating that issue, and so that's why we're putting glue all over everything. I don't remember actually reading anything that said that was good for us to do, but we just did it because we had the wood glue.
think it's adorable that you can fit in the entire dresser. Someone breaks in, you can hide in there.
I really could.
Yeah, and they lock. Couldn't do this without you, literally.
This was in the summer, right? Probably early summer. It was before your birthday.
Yes, it was before my birthday.
So
it was in spring.
it's crazy how that
It was still cold.
That really wasn't that long ago, and I'm having such a hard time remembering it still.
That was
already
7-8 months ago.
Wow.
That's it.
That's insane.
Yeah, this part really sucked.
I didn't think you were gonna be able to get out. I did not think you were gonna be able to get out of there. I was like, oh, he lives there now. I remember now that you had to look at the marks on the other side, but we couldn't take that bottom board down.
Right.
Because we had to.
That's what we were lining up
That's what
with.
we were doing. What we were doing is we were putting the piece of wood in place and then adjusting everything else around where the piece of wood would meet in the corner.
I can't trust my wood cutting skills. That's what we have to adjust off of.
That
it's
was
like,
hilarious.
How shitty is this? All right, we have to adjust for that. Like, that's really what it is on every single piece of wood in here.
It worked. It was complicated and it was a pain in the ass, but it worked.
Yeah. Lizzie's watching with us. Look her on her shoulder.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Look how cute she is.
Our dynamic during that time of our life while working on this van, since you're such a perfectionist, it was really hard for you to push through certain projects. You know, we didn't quite have the skill set to make it as perfect as what you wanted.
Yep.
But we didn't have a choice, and I knew that.
I know.
I knew that.
It was a struggle for me, and I feel like I was that caused a lot of tension between us.
So I think that's what's important is like during the time we didn't, because we weren't where we kind of wanted to be, you know, as far with the van and traveling and stuff like that. It was a lot harder to see how our
work was paying off.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't looking as good as we hoped.
Mm-hmm.
And we're ultimately truly really fine with that now. Like,
yes.
The more that we are in it, the more totally fine we are with it looking just a little bit rough around the edges.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a constant work in progress, which I actually love.
Yeah.
A lot of times I was what was holding us back by wanting the plan for the project to be perfect before we started.
Yeah.
When really,
we just had no idea what we're doing.
Some of our best projects were just things that we just had to start doing without a plan. You know, you just have to start, because if you don't start, that's going to be the thing that holds you back the whole time.
Yeah.
But we got through that.
Well, I mean, not only that, but you got to give yourself credit. Like the majority of our best ideas that ever came out of the entire van came from you pushing the fact that you knew it could be better. You know, there was very specific things that were like
Sometimes.
the majority of the time, and it would force me to take a step back and be like, you know, instead of me just blowing it off as like, no, we need to do it. You know, I would actually take some time, do some research, and something was possible, or you would present some information to me to see it was possible, and then a lot of times we would execute that, and it turned out a lot better, a whole lot better. So I think it's important.
It was a balance then.
Just our overall dynamic really improved during that time.
And I think our communication has gotten a lot better since then too.
Yes.
Then we had
Yes.
more, you know, debates that turned into
Heated arguments.
Whereas
Yeah.
now I feel like we can really pretty much calmly talk through anything. As long as we're not like really hungry.
Yeah, I was literally thinking, I was like, as long as we're not starving. We're super tired, but
Yeah, we're super tired. Something like that.
Problem is we should never like, if there's no bed in here, don't just like let that sling down. Because it'll break it.
Than I expected.
That's good.
And then you had to wiggle out. So funny.
No joke, while I was wiggling out of here, I legit thought that I might get stuck, or there would be something weird like that. Like I just
Where your
didn't
chest couldn't-
where I was gonna have to take this shit apart again, you know? And in
Yeah.
order to get myself out of there, it was gonna be something stupid. I just wasn't thinking a whole lot during this time. I was just trying to get it done.
I want to leave that in.
No, we're not leaving that in. That's good. And the latches will keep them in, so. Yeah.
We bent our fingernails back on this thing. What is this thing called? D-clips?
Yeah, some sort of like C-clamp.
C-clamps?
Yeah.
Whatever kind of clamp that is. I bent my thumbnail backwards after
Popping
whenever
it
it
loose.
pops so many times. Oh, and it made me so mad every time. What you were doing is, once we got all the hinges and everything, and all the doors were put up,
Yeah.
and you had screwed them in and unscrewed some sides to make them all level out, and then these had to be lined up, so all the doors had to be put in, and then on the inside of the doors you had to draw a line of where the aluminum was,
Yes.
and then you had to decide where on the aluminum you were going to put the snap.
Yeah, the little
The closure.
bar where the little lock would lock into,
It
I
would
guess.
snap
Yeah, snap over.
that piece.
Yeah.
And
It was
then-
really hard to tell because these.
And then you had to measure a certain amount of distance from that where you were going to put that piece to where you were going to put the lock.
Yeah, this was really scary. Every one of
Yeah.
these were really scary, but luckily, I mean, it was kind
We
of
didn't mess
foolproof.
up any of them.
Yeah.
No,
It wasn't that
worked.
bad.
Because of the way that we did it, because the doors were already up there, you had to draw a line. And whenever you would take the door away from the pole, if you just looked at the pencil mark on the back, it would be crooked.
Yeah.
And so it freaked me out because I was like, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. That's
But
wrong.
nothing's totally
But
straight in the
nothing
van.
is straight. Nothing is straight. So we just had to hope. And it totally worked out.
So we chose called slam latches. They're used in, I guess, a lot of sailboats and RVs, but you can just slam them closed. They're locked. They got the little finger hole. They're really meant to be open from certain directions. They can be kind of wonky.
They're pretty. Like, I don't like them, but I've gotten used to them. I really didn't like them at first, way more than I don't like them now.
Yeah.
I've gotten used to them now. It's not a big deal. But like in a lot of these areas, you just have to like. It's just not a natural way to grab to open something. You have to like. I have to like stick my finger in like this, you know.
Or the ones above where you have to pull it down like that.
Yeah, you know, do like that. And a lot of times my finger will get kind of caught in there and stuff like that. And just, I don't like it.
We also have the ability where we have locks, so we have a bunch of keys, and they're all the same key, and we can lock every single one of our, anything we have a slam latch on in here can be locked with a key.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're gone for a certain amount of time and we just want to make it more annoying for someone who breaks in.
Yeah.
I also was having to position the L bracket far enough back on the aluminum, so that way it kind of forced the piece of wood to seat as flush as possible.
Yeah, because after the wood was cut, parts of them like would flare, like the corners would flare a little bit.
Yeah.
I see other people's vans and they always have like these perfect cabinets with they're perfectly straight and they are seated perfectly. I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
It's ridiculous. It's
mean,
upsetting.
We just didn't have the carpentry skills that some of these people got.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I love what we have. I really want to stress that. Like, I might be saying some bad things about our van, but I don't ever want you to think that
it's so
I hate it
functional
like
for
that.
us.
It's perfect for us. I love it. It's still got a long way to go.
True.
But it's awesome. He's back in the cabinet again.
But that's one of the most beautiful parts about
Those
our
just
cabinets.
snap on and off.
Yeah, we can take
That's
these
awesome.
off super easy whenever we want. We can take the entire front side of the dresser off in a matter of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, any of these cabinets, pull them right off.
And you might not think that that's useful, but it was very useful whenever we got all of these done, right? We got them all done perfectly. And then we had to take it all off so that I could paint everything.
Yeah.
Because I had to paint it all. And we couldn't paint it before because we didn't want marks, you know, on the outside of the paint and stuff like that. And we knew we were going to have to be drawing on it.
Right, and they just snap right off.
They just snap right off and just snap right back on. Just to take this one panel off after I had already painted everything, because I had painted everything, we put everything back in, and then a few, like weeks later, it was time to do the control panel.
Yep.
And we had to take apart this whole small cabinet.
Yep, and they take the counter off.
And the counter.
The counter has to come off and the small cabinet
So
because
this
it's
whole
such a
thing
weird
is like
piece.
a giant puzzle.
Yeah.
That, you know,
That's the hard part, but that could be fixed, and not necessarily this specific board, but in the majority of the boards that can be fixed by using the T-nuts I was talking about.
Right.
But this one's just trapped by all those other boards. You can't do anything about that.
yeah. We have two other cabinets, this big cabinet, that small cabinet, and we did these basically the exact same way that we did everything else.
Yep.
All of the same as the dressers. Same locks, same bolts, same everything.
Yeah.
Except for that smaller piece of aluminum, that custom piece of aluminum that you had to order.
Oh, for the front facing of this big cabinet right here.
Right.
Yeah, so
that right there.
yeah, I'll circle it in post, but that specific piece is the only piece of aluminum that I special ordered.
How much was it? Do you remember?
That was a $35 piece, for it was just slightly longer than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's way smaller than all the other pieces.
And here's what's interesting. So that had to be special order because I couldn't use a bigger piece like we normally have, because the bigger piece, the offset or the overlap you can have on the wood with those type of latches would leave a gap at the top. And we did that on purpose on the dresser because we wanted to have
space for lighting there.
Right, we wanted to have our own custom lighting up there. But on this one, we didn't want custom lighting up there. We wanted it underneath the cabinet, so it needed to meet almost flush with the actual roof. So we had to order that more low-profile piece, and it costs a good bit.
Yeah, this is a great example of what it takes to put in just one of these pieces, because
this is me getting annoyed.
Not all of our holes are perfect here, and I think you do this by yourself, the whole thing, don't you?
Yeah, I think you had to go back. I think you were cooking, and so I had to hold that up, and then the holes wouldn't line up perfectly.
But even whenever I would help you, I remember you using that hammer.
And you know what? Let me say this. So one of probably the most genius things I made for myself at the very beginning of doing all this was what do you call that? A tool? Of course it's a tool, but
stencil.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe it could be considered a stencil.
I feel like there's another word for it. Stencil is good enough. So I took a piece of 3/4 inch wood, and I basically just set it up against where the aluminum is, and then had a hole drilled perfect for that. So that way I could take that on any of my pieces of wood, push it up against the edge where the edges line up, and I know that that's like a pilot hole that I could drive down.
And that's where the gap in the aluminum would be.
Exactly.
That's where you put your T-nut.
Yeah, that was, if not, and I was trying to do that by hand every time, I would have fucked up so many more boards.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, actually, the small cabinet was more catty-walker than the other big one above us.
It still kind of is. We had to keep sanding it down more, and then we had to paint it, and then because we painted it, it added more thickness, and so we had to sand it down even more and repaint the edge.
Yep.
Hopefully the fourth time works.
Yeah, fourth time.
Yeah.
I bet you even did it one more time after that, and we just didn't show it. Because another thing is, like, whenever you're doing these projects and you have to redo something over and over and over again like that, it just gets, like, you don't want to film it anymore. You're like, I'm so tired of filming this one thing. Because you think that you want to get the first time that you put on the door, you want to get the first time, and you want it to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
At least I do, because
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. But that's just not the way it is. You gotta deal with it. I gotta deal with it. It's okay. Ah, looks so good.
Nice.
Here you go.
Well, I guess since in this video it shows them painted, why don't you go ahead and talk about, like, the initial coat of paint that we decided to go with, as well as...
We got outdoor paint, and I want it to be cream colored, because I know that sounds weird, but I want to do a mural that goes over the cabinet. I want it to expand over into the small cabinet, and I want to do something here too,
Yeah.
on the long cabinet. I haven't decided what I want the mural to be yet, and I didn't want to rush and pick a design that I wasn't totally loving just because we needed to leave and stuff like that. So there's lots of projects in here that are not finished that we're going to do later. And
I guess that's it for this video. There's just really nothing else to go over when it comes to the dressers and cabinets. That's all the footage we had.
oh, actually, that's not totally true, because if you look at the cabinets here, you see the two doors that open, but you also see a panel below that, and that there's a false floor inside the cabinet. So you can actually take out, we keep our clothes in bins, and if you take the bins out, there's actually a flip up, and you can actually store more stuff underneath the main 2 cabinet doors.
Yeah, just about a full foot too.
Yeah, just about a full foot, and we put a lot of stuff in there that we don't need to access a lot. So like winter clothes or just like knickknacks, things like that. I have some books in there.
Yep.
Just things that we don't have to get out very often.
We just grabbed some of that extra storage that would have been the bed, and just made it a shelf that can be flipped up and down.
Those are still kind of works in progress because they
one of them's kind of messed
one
up.
of them's kind of broken, and so I don't even know if I really necessarily want to show it.
We'll probably show it in the van tour then.
In the van tour, we'll show it.
Yeah. So I think that's probably it for this video, though.
Yeah.
I think we've covered just about everything when it comes to the cabinets and the dresser that we currently have, and then moving forward, the next video will hopefully be a van tour. You can see a lot more of the details, and then we'll just be updating as we go from there.